So, hello everyone, Sister Chizzy is here today with you. Today I wish to respond within my limit to some questions that I've been receiving lately concerning secular consecration. So, but in responding to it, I think I will kind of seek support or use the canon of the church in supporting some of the things I will say. Not because, I'm not a canonist, honestly, I'm not a canonist, and I did not study canon law. I did study some things about consecrated life during my studies in religious sciences, yeah. But I will be bringing my personal experience. And if there is anything or any quote I gave and you think it's not the right thing, please feel free to correct me, Yeah. So, as I was saying, I've been receiving some questions concerning secular life, and most of them could be something like, who can join your institute? I belong to the Vocationist Apostles of the Universal Sanctification, a long name I know, but you can call us Vocationist Apostles. We are a secular institute. Now, if you ask me who can join our institute, every Catholic, any Catholic who has the quality required by the Catholic law can join our institute. Obviously, there is this openness to the preparation, which requires also a period of formation before you can be part of us. Now, every institute has its character and purposes in the church. Every institute or congregation, but I'm going to use institute because I'm focusing on secular consecrated, have its purpose and character in the church. If you have listened to me previously, I said I am a vocationist apostles. What does that mean? I belong to the vocationist family. And the Society of Divine Vocations, which is the vocationist family which we belong to, is made of the vocationist fathers, the vocationist sisters, and the apostles of the universal sanctification. And it is founded by Saint Justin Rusolilo, the apostle of vocations. We have our specific roles in the church. When you come to vocation, yes, our charism, our spirituality is born uniquely from the verse of Genesis, where God says that man is made in his image and likeness. So if man is made in the image and likeness of God, which is man is worthy of our redemption. So for us to respond to that call of redemption and of holiness that the church has given us, we need the sacraments. And when we talk about sacraments, we talk about priestly vocations. And as priests, we need consecrated who will assist them in this great mission. So that is why in our charism of research, nurture, and helping of vocations, we don't joke with that. So we have what we call the vocationary, where young men who have signed a vocation are being helped to respond to their vocation. And our sisters, after their formation, they are into teaching of catechism and they concentrate on education. So they have schools. You'll be asking now, so what is the work of the vocationist apostles? What's our job? Everything's been done. No. We have a specific mission in our family. What is that? We rehabilitate vocations. What does that imply? Maybe in the long run, in the journey of a priest or a consecrated or somebody who is in research and all of a sudden seems to be losing the enthusiasm he or she had at the beginning of the journey, we step in. We help you rediscover the joy of your vocation. We help you understand better the need to live your consecration in fullness. That is what makes us outstanding in the church. Yes, like our brothers and sisters, we help in the research of vocations. We are into pastoral, we teach catechism, we work in parishes, of course. But in a special way, we dedicate more time in rehabilitating vocations. That makes a big difference, you know. And apart from that, just as the canon says, I'm just gonna allow myself to be guided. I said that we are secular consecrated. What does that mean? We are not religious sisters. We don't live in the convents. We don't have a common apostolate. Like, we don't have a school where everybody's teaching and, you know, we are all earning in the same purse. No. We are secular consecrated. Secular because we live in the world, but we are not of the world. I think that verse of the gospel is directed to us. So does that imply we live alone sometimes? We might be living in twos, but we're kind of independent. We have different activities we do. In most cases, we are professionals in what we do. Some of us can manage businesses. Some of us work in the care sector. Some of us work in parishes full time. Some of us work in the schools as teachers. The most important thing is that you are bringing Christ to the doorstep of every Catholic, Christian, or individual that comes your way. Whoever is in the hospital sector in this part of the world knows how difficult it is for healthcare support workers or nurses or doctors to actually think about faith in what they do. But as a secular consecrated, with your indirect evangelization, you can actually bring God to their doorstep, to that place where the name of God is not usually recognized. You can be the light of Christ in there. That is what it implies to be a secular. Consecrated because we take the vows, the evangelical counsel, just like the religious sisters. Because it's just funny, and when you hear some of our priests say, oh, you people are not sisters, I just look at them and I smile. Sometimes it can be out of ignorance, or maybe the African community are not yet open to accepting such lifestyle. Many of secular consecrated in Nigeria do bring up this as a complaint, but my response is always that nobody has the right, you know, to talk down on you, because the church knows that you exist, and the church knows the importance of your work in the well-being of, in building the well-being of the faithful. Now, we take the evangelical counsel just like religious sisters, because both the religious and the consecrated, we have a common umbrella, which is the consecrated life. Okay, so what happens? We take the vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Now, I'm just gonna kind of detail a little bit what it means, you know. The Canon 599 says that the Evangelical Council of Chastity assumed for the sake of the kingdom of heaven, which is a sign of the world to come and a source of more abundant fruitfulness in an undivided heart, entails the obligation of perfect continence in celibacy. Undivided heart means that in your heart, that your heart is only for God and you don't share your heart with anyone, because you are living the future of the world. That is the heavenly experience, because the consecrated life is the prophetic presence of God in the world. So you are living something that is yet to come as a bride of Christ. Isn't that awesome? And then concerning the poverty says that the imitation of Christ, although he was rich, was made poor for us, entails, besides a life which is poor in fact and in spirit, and is to be led productively in moderation and foreign to earthly riches, a dependence and limitation in the use of disposition of goods according to the norm of the proper law of each institute. So you see this part, it is very important concerning the poverty. It says according to the norm of each institute. Canonically, secular consecrated members have a minimum of 10% of their income to you know, kind of use for the well-being of their institute. But the problem here is that many people think that being secular consecrated means that there is no kind of guidance on the use of riches. Remember, we are human beings, and sometimes we can actually fall into those things that could cause scandal in the church. And if we are wise enough, you know, we need to kind of pay more attention to this. What does that imply? The vote of poverty implies that I have what I can use to survive as a human being. I don't need extra. I don't need extra to show off. I don't need extra to kind of mock the poor. My extra should go to the poor, the needy, people who are around me. So what happens? When I work and my salary is being paid, obviously I have a percentage based on the agreement of the, based on the constitution of my institute. I have a percentage to pay. And then the rest, I'll take what is duly needed for me to survive. And then the rest, I should know how to kind of invest it for the well-being of those around me. It's not that I will live so that I'll make money and I'll be whoever. It's not like that, honestly. And this is one of the reasons we are being criticized. And I pray and hope that we all will work on it and kind of, you know, make people understand that our imitation of Christ is real and that we are there because Christ was for the poor. So why wouldn't we be sensitive to the need of people around us? And then the Canon 601, speaking about obedience, says that undertaking in a spirit of faith and love in the following of Christ, obedient unto death, requires the submission of the will to legitimate superiors who stand in the place of God when they command according to the proper constitutions. So now, this is another point I would like to kind of throw a little bit light on. That you are a secular consecrated does not mean that you're on your own, you decide nobody can, kind of, no. You are misunderstanding what secular consecration means. There's no group in the church that is not under obedience of the bishop and of the Holy Father in general. So as a secular consecrated, you have a very important role to play and a very high responsibility placed on your shoulders. Yes, you live alone. You choose your work. You eat when you want. You eat what you want. Yes, but you are under the obedience of your superiors. You are not meant to do certain things without a proper permission from your superiors. Because in your place of work, you represent yourself, God, your institute, and the church. So whatever thing you are doing, or you are in your rapport with people, you need to be very careful. Because whatever you do wrong runs back to your institute, to your superiors, to the local bishop, and to the Holy Father as well, and the universal church. And that is not what we want. So the fact that we live differently in different cities, in different countries, does not mean that where I find myself, for example, I live in Scotland, and I'm the only vocationist apostle in Scotland. So what should I do? I'll start doing anything I want because I live alone? Because there's nobody here who is from my institute? No. I am in strict communion with my sisters. We call each other, they check on me, and I check on them. We are in communion. And whatever I do, I seek the counsel of my superiors. If I'm traveling, my mother general knows I'm traveling. When I get there, I'll tell her I've arrived. She knows where I am. Sometimes if I'm just transiting from one city, I tell her. If I'm having issues at work, I speak to her about it. And she will console me as much as she can. And same with my sisters. Is it not lovely to be in communion with your sisters? To be in communion with people who have chosen the same consecration like yourself. So it is very important that we consider these three things. A secular consecrated is a full-time consecrated. So don't make that mistake. Don't put hierarchies. No. Both the religious sisters and the secular consecrated take the same vows. It's just that they live it in different ways. So please, let us not make this mistake. Let us always remember that secular consecrated is a vocation, not a comfort. Not where I would run, because some people have approached me and they were already consecrated, that they are religious sisters. They approached me, and while conversing with them, I found out that the reason why they want to join the secular consecrated is not because they don't have the vocation to religious life. It's just that there are one or two situations in their community that they cannot manage, or that is frustrating them. But right deep in their heart, they have the vocation to community life. So when you start having crises because of situations and places where you are, ask yourself, this crisis, is it coming out of a desire for a better community life, or is it a call for me to pay attention to something else? Yes, I believe that there is vocation in vocation, and I am an example of that. I was a religious sister for 18 years, and for 7 years I had that crisis. I kept speaking, I kept talking to my spiritual fathers until I got the strength to make that decision. It is not something you jump from one place to the other, because your life is at stake. If you are not called to live a loner life, what do I mean by that? To live alone, without people around you sharing the same spirituality with you, you will go into depression as a secular consecrated. So it's very important we tell ourselves the truth. If it's not your call, if you are called to live a community life and you choose secular consecration, you'll be frustrated. You'll be depressed. Even when you're not living with anybody to frustrate you anyways. But it's just simple because it's not your call. So my advice is this. When you are in the religious life and you are having crisis, please follow proper discernment program. Speak to your spiritual father. Speak with your confessors. Speak with good friends. Don't be in a haste to jump in. Because sometimes you jump in, after a couple of months, you find out that you've just made a mistake. And you now have to jump out again and start looking for somewhere else. What does that imply? That you need to discern very well and be sure that truly this is the will of God for you. And then you follow it with dignity, confidence, and love. So let us not make that mistake, because you have this, okay, nobody understands me. And then, instead of jumping immediately, why don't you take extra claustration for a year or two, just to make sure that you are sure of what you are about to take. And we all know that the church has a process you have to follow to move from religious life to secular life. You don't just come in and, immediately you turn to other side. No. First of all, before you want to join any secular institute and religious life as well, always ask them, what is the spirituality of this institute? What is their charism? What is their work in the church? What is their work in the church? What is their spirituality? What is that word of the scripture that enlightened the founder to give life to such? And then you ask, what is their charism? It is very important. Once you have that, then you can proceed with other things. But the problem many of our youths have is that, oh, I like this sister. Sister Chizzy can laugh, so, hey, Sister Chizzy will be a saint. You not even ask, Sister Chizzy, where do you belong? Where do you belong? I mean, if somebody asks me where I belong, I wouldn't cry. I'll tell you. So, there's no need hiding your identity. Except if you don't belong anywhere. Right? So if you belong to a secular consecration, religious family, be proud to tell people. In my case, I'm the youngest in my institute. in Italy. I'm the youngest. And it's a big responsibility on my shoulder. Because my prayer is that God will send us vocations, that people will come in and join us. But I have to do that under obedience. I can't just start wiring around. So it is important before you step, you pronounce yourself, you identify yourself with any group. It is necessary you ask about their spirituality and their charism in the church. Get to know these two things. And then you proceed to ask, which diocese do you belong to? That's another loud question you have to ask. Which diocese? Because lately, a lot of people are founding religious families, secular institutes without principal bishops, without the local bishop approving such. And many of our young ladies have been misled, and same with our young men. Because, see, my few years here on social media, I've seen a lot of desperation from our young aspirants. People are desperate to enter. People are desperate to do this. Vocation is not found based on desperation. It is found on discernment. You have to allow God to speak to you through your spiritual father or through anyone who is guiding you in your vocational process. Remember, it is not a do or die affair. You might be desiring to join, but right inside you, you know that maybe this is not for you. Don't push it. Don't push it, please. Listen to the voice of the Holy Spirit in your life. Allow God to make the way for you. Don't be desperate to join. Be curious to know who they are, to identify them before joining. So I'm gonna stop here. I think this is my first time of coming live on Facebook for a long time, and I promise I'll try to be regular. I'm not promising. I'm not promising, but I'll be coming from time to time, and to interact with people, so that if you have questions, you can ask. And if I can answer your question, I'll try and answer your question. But if I can't, please pardon me. I don't know it all. I don't know it all, but I'll try, So please safeguard your vocation. I'll say it again. Safeguard your vocation. Have a wonderful afternoon, and God bless you.